Hi, how are you? This is Anthony from Cypher House Escape, and I'm back with some more of the Princeton puzzle hunt from April of 2020. Last time, we were able to solve the first two puzzles, which were both assigned to the red character. We got the answers butter and vampire. And so today, we're going to be looking at the blue and purple characters, assuming that I have time to get through both of them in a single video. Now, it does look like blue has significantly fewer solves than either of the red puzzles, so I'm thinking this one might be a bit trickier than what we saw before. So without further ado, let's get into it. Bold beginnings. For a poet, the first line of each verse is a riddle. Take your place boldly. By Emily Dickinson, probably. Assume that nouns are singular rather than plural. The Modern Language Association Style Guide, 8th edition. Okay, so we have a number of poems here with some bolded words inside. Okay, another thing I wanted to actually do was start a timer. Some people were curious how long it takes me to get through these puzzles like this, so I'm going to start a timer and we'll see. Okay, so back to bold beginnings. Now after work, the pale stucco could keep a chancel cool. It was the hidden man so handsome, a cherub's fat little head gesturing, like a bird, but everyone's ears are bleeding. The river's wind or wind made shiver from uncleaved neck to her fantail, the pen, and I got as far as Capitol Hill. He tore out a reed, the great god Pan, into the nothingness of scorn and noise. I am but 2 days old. I'm gonna try searching for some of these online to see if they're maybe from anything real. Okay, so I just looked for this could keep a chancel line. I'm kind of trying to avoid the bolded words, just in case they're not, like in case they've changed them from the original text. And interestingly enough, could keep a chancel is a line from an Emily Dickinson poem called It Was Not Death, for I Stood Up. Here's the Emily Dickinson poem. It was not death, for I stood up, and all the dead lie down. It was not night, for all the bells put out their tongues for noon. So, now after work, the pale stucco could keep a chancel cool. So could keep a chancel cool is a line directly from the poem. Now what about, now after work, the pale stucco? That's not in here, so that might be from a different poem. Okay, so I'm going to start my Excel spreadsheet for this puzzle and start to collect some data about these verses. Okay, so here's our lines from the poem, and then I'm going to put the poem that they come from over on the right here. So this poem was, It was not death, for I stood up. Did Emily Dickinson number all of the poems like this? Now after work, the pale stucco. Ah, so this is a different poem. This isn't an Emily Dickinson poem. This is a poem called Lucky's. And maybe I should put in the author, the poet who wrote each of these poems as well. I'm not really sure what the important piece of information is from each of these yet. Am I looking for the title of the poem? Or am I looking for the author? There's obviously going to be a reason that each of these words is bolded. Okay, I'm gonna keep going through and just getting the poems for now, and I'll come back and get the poets later if I think they're necessary. What else did this say? For a poet, the first line of each verse is a riddle. Might have been July, might have been December. Why do poems have to be named such long things? I'm just a Bill. Oh, from Schoolhouse Rock. Okay, I know that one. So the question now is, what do we do with these bolded words? And do I need more information from any of those poems? Or does it come straight from these titles? The position of the bolded word within each line could be an index. So, like, after's the second word in this line, so maybe I'm supposed to take the U? I don't think that's right. Oh yeah, especially for I am. Assume that nouns are singular rather than plural. Why would that matter? In what context would you need to know whether nouns are singular or plural? For a poet, the first line of each verse is a riddle. So now I'm thinking maybe I need to go back to these poems, find the first line, because these were all like, at least I'm pretty sure most of these were lines later on in a verse. I'm thinking maybe I need to find the first line of each of these verses, and then take the word that corresponds to the bolded one, so I would need to take the second word of this verse. So let me try that with this first line here. This was the poem Lucky's, and the line that we have is, now after work the pale stucco. The first line of that verse is, he recalls the house he had. So maybe we take the word recalls? It could also be the first line of the entire poem. I think I'm just going to try to take these for now. So there's some poems like this one where it's really just one big verse. So the line that we have is, like a bird but everyone's ears are bleeding, and it's all the way down here. I guess I'm just wondering why they would choose that line. Maybe there's not a reason. Maybe they were just picking a line that made sense, but I feel like there should be a reason for it. Like, maybe I'm supposed to count down to what line it is. See, this one's weird because this is the first line of this verse. From uncleaved neck to her fantail, the pen. What else could it be? What else do we have? We have a bunch of pieces of poems. They are separated into 3 verses. I guess I'm just going to take this line then. It feels really weird. This one too, it's the first line of this particular verse. So can we make anything from this? This is first line of the verse. If we take the corresponding word that would be bolded, so like after's the second bolded word here, we would get recalls. Recalls for the birds, wake, limb, pen, bill, he and I. That does not sound right. Okay, I guess I'll try the poets next. Okay, so now I have a column in here for the poets that wrote each of these poems. Maybe I try indexing into either their first or last name, the same way that I was trying before. Like, after would be an index of 2 because it's the second bolded word. That wouldn't work for this one because we have to index 5, and neither name by itself is 5 letters, so this could be an index into the full name. Let's just see real quick what that gets us. E, Y, H. Okay, that's probably not right either. For a poet, the first line of each verse is a riddle. Assume that nouns are singular rather than plural. Maybe I'll try taking the first line of each poem. I think that was always different than the one we were given, rather than the first line in the specific verse, because sometimes that was the same. I'll give that a try. Okay, so I've changed all of these to the first line of the poem that they come in. So what if I try taking the corresponding word to the bolded one now? Loop. Colored. Bill. Okay, this sounds like it might actually be making something. Like making a clue statement. Loop for the birds with the colored bill. What am I? That sounds correct. And it's a riddle, right? Because for a poet, the first line of each verse is a riddle. Okay. Loop for the birds with the colored bill. Oh, assume nouns are singular, so loop for the bird with the colored bill. Loop for the bird with the colored bill. Toucan. Fruit Loops. That's gotta be it, right? Yeah, I think it's fruit. Interesting. I'm gonna use that as my answer. It's been 41 minutes, by the way, since I started solving this puzzle. I spent a lot of time gathering all of the information from the various poems, and also not really having any idea where I was going with the puzzle. For a lot of it, I wasn't really sure. Okay, next up we're going to take a look at the purple character. Maze paths. Wow. Oh, this looks fun. I don't know what it is, but it looks fun. I'm thinking maybe I'm supposed to fit these snaking pieces into this grid by counting like how many squares there are. So like they all start at green and go to one of the purples. Are they all a different length? I wonder if they can overlap. They would at least have to overlap this square right after the green. I think that's what we have to do. I think the idea is that you have to figure out how each of these goes through the maze. So I think I'm gonna actually try to do this one in paint, I think, because I think it'll be easier. Okay, so I've dropped the maze into paint here. And the reason I've done that is because I can use the dropper tool to take the exact colors from down here, and I can use the paint bucket tool to fill the squares quickly. So I'm just going to start with this first path here. I'm going to count how many squares there are, and then see if I can find a unique path from a green square to one of these purple squares that has that same number of spaces. Okay, so there's 36 squares along this path, counting the green and the purple. So let me see what happens if I try to go through the grid with 36 spaces. Whew. Okay, so if I go through this way, through like the middle up to this square, it's 35. So that's really close. Oh, sorry, that is exactly 36. I miscounted. So if I start at this green square and go through this middle path up here to the purple space here, that's exactly 36. So I think I'm going to color all the spaces along that route, just like they're colored in this strand here, and basically act like I'm putting this snake into the maze like that. So there's 5 of these. Then there's 4 of this color. Okay, so that's putting this first piece into the grid. Let me try with the next one then. Wow, this one's actually really close. These last two are basically just off by one. Like, they start at the same position here, wrap around and complete an entire row, and then come back, and this one ends just one cell before this one does. So I need to count the two paths. I'm assuming it's going to be along the bottom here to this purple, and then along the top to this purple. That would make the most sense. So I'm going to need to count the length of those two paths and figure out which one goes where. Okay, it's 53 spaces from green to purple along the top here. 52. Excellent. So I'm going to count how many there are along the shorter path here, and I'm hoping it's exactly 52. Yep, exactly 52 in this one, and 53 in this bottom one. Okay, so let's get those put into the grid. And hopefully this wasn't all some big rabbit hole, and this is actually what I'm supposed to do. I'm hoping that these colors all make shapes that are letters at the end. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Okay, so there's that path. Now let's do the last one. Okay, so we've filled the grid. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't expecting this. Okay, I think I see it actually. I think these colors do make the answer. So first let's look at just this red color. If I color in that cell, I think the black cells go over top of the letter. That looks like a letter R. A different color. I'm seeing like a lowercase r here. Then in the tan, I'm seeing what I think is a lowercase a. And in the blue, that looks like a lowercase t. So I'm thinking our answer is rat. That kind of makes sense for a puzzle called Maze Paths as well, to have an answer be rat. Of course, I forgot to set a timer for that second puzzle, but it went a lot faster than the blue puzzle. I think it definitely took me less than 20 minutes. Yeah, I'd say between 15 and 20 minutes. So that's all that we have time for in this video. I'll be doing another video soon with the next couple of puzzles. Thanks again to the Princeton Puzzle Hunt team. This hunt's been a lot of fun so far. I hope that you guys are enjoying this series. Leave a comment below if there's something else you'd like to see me try. And let me know how you feel about the structure of these videos. Alright, thanks again for watching, everybody. Have a good day, and as always, happy escaping.